Welcome to the NEPA Scene Podcast. We're coming to you live from Cole Creative in downtown Wilkes-Barre. I'm Rich Howells. I'm the founder and editor of NEPA Scene.
And I'm Brittany Boot. I'm the owner of Boot Photography Studio.
Brittany, it has been a very long time. I'm so happy that you're back.
Yeah, I'm
That's
so
awesome.
happy to be here. I'm filling in for Johnny tonight. He's at the Rock 107 birthday bash, so when I saw the opportunity, I cannot get over it. I took that picture, and I cannot get over the cardboard cutout.
It's so creepily looming over us until eventually John can come back and then creepily.
It's too much, Johnny. It's too much.
It's a nice fanny pack he has there, though, or
yes,
something, right?
Yes,
What is that?
he's very specific, but he wants to bring fanny packs back. That's like his thing.
She's got a fanny pack right
It's
now.
back.
So,
All right.
hey.
You're missing out, man. You
Yep.
have supporters, finally. You found somebody else who wants to bring fanny packs
Mission
back.
accomplished.
Yes.
Well, tonight we're here with Jeff and Mandy Zick, who are the founders of the free Pennsylvania Cannabis Festival at Nay Aug Park coming up this Saturday, April 20th, and the owners of Big Yield Hydroponics in Scranton. So we're talking about their long fight to legalize marijuana, attending Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman's listening tour on marijuana, Lackawanna County Commissioner Laureen Cummings in her bizarre crusade against marijuana, the Department of Health's decision to ban dispensaries and growers from the festival and how this affected the event, and much, much more. Lots of newsworthy stuff to talk about, lots of general stuff to talk about. So please stay tuned for the full hour. We would love to hear from you guys. We would love to hear your opinions, too, on legalization. Anything you want to talk about in the comments down below, that will help move our conversation forward. We love your opinions and suggestions. Anything you want to add to our conversation, by all means.
It still happens every single time.
It still happens.
Every time.
We're now past episode 100. We're at
Wow.
what, 103, 4, 5, 6, 3? 3?
Yeah,
3.
wow.
We're at 103, and it still happened. That's all right though.
Every time.
I mean, it's bad enough that you guys have to listen to my nasally voice, but I don't want to listen to it. This is why I barely ever listen back. But I did listen to the last time we had you guys on the show was a year ago, pretty much a year ago today, give or take a day or two. So we have some different stuff to talk about this time, so I made sure to not kind of tread the same ground, but there's a lot of updates since the last year, so we're going to get on into that stuff in a minute. First, we want to plug Beer Boys in Wilkes-Barre. They provide us with these wonderful crowlers each week, and I forgot the cups. Do we have cups back there?
I think there's little plastic guys.
Yeah. Let me. I'll read off which ones we have here. We have New Belgium Liquid Paradise. That sounds good. Alyssa's got them.
Ooh, those are fancy.
Bullfrog Karate Poker. That sounds ridiculous. Those are three things that I never imagined go together.
Here.
And Dogfish Flesh and Blood, which is awesome. I've
Yum.
had that before. My wife and I usually go to Delaware every year.
I got it passed.
Visit the brewery, and Flesh and Blood is definitely one of our favorites. Just us tonight. That's all right. So, which one do you want to start with then?
Okay, I missed them. So, I like Dogfish.
That one is just...
That's interesting.
Yeah, I kind of want to start with that just because it's a crazy name.
Okay.
Bullfrog Karate Poker. I don't know. I don't even know what that means or what kind of style it is. So this is going to be a surprise, I guess. It's probably going to be an IPA because you don't like IPAs.
I do.
You do?
I don't like the sour.
That looks
The
like an
sour
IPA.
beers. That's what it is. See, it's been too long.
I love IPAs.
Okay. Well, then
I don't
this
like
is-
the sour beers.
Well, then this will probably be a sour then.
Yeah.
All right. Here we go.
Thank you.
Let's try what this is.
In the verdict.
It's not. It's an IPA, I think.
Yeah, I think it is. It's very strange, actually. Very different.
I kind of love it.
Yeah, it's good. I would definitely not say it's bad. It's just very.
It's actually very easy to drink.
Yeah, but it's hard to put. Can you tell what fruit is in there? Because it definitely has a citrusy taste.
Hold on, let me chug it.
Next
It's
time,
like
I
a
have
good
to
summer.
next time I have to give them a hobbit with cannabis.
There you go.
You know, some hemp.
Yes,
You know, for now.
absolutely. Well, they do.
CBD
They do
bullfrog.
make those, don't they?
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
They do.
Do they make CBD beer?
Yes, they do.
That's cool.
Yep.
They last time you brought a cannabis energy drink too. So,
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
there are all kinds of things you can put in now. Beer Boys has a half price happy hour every night of the week, 8 till midnight on Fridays and Saturdays, and 9 to 11 every other night of the week. You stop in for free glasses on Wednesday and tell them we sent you. There's also live entertainment on the weekends at 10 p.m. and there's never a cover. Enjoy the largest selection of craft beer that you can find at any bar in Northeast PA. Thank you, Bear Boys. We appreciate it for
Cheers.
this weird bullfrog
Karate
karate poker
poker.
thing.
It's a good one.
A legal drug,
Yeah, right.
and probably more dangerous. Actually, probably I could say definitely more dangerous. The V Spot is also one of our sponsors, one of the most popular bars in northeastern Pennsylvania with live entertainment every night of the week. This week they have Holy Sardine tonight, which is actually Pat McGlynn and Steve Werner. I guess they thought Holy Sardine would sound cooler, which it totally does. This is a good one too. Magic 90s 3 with hour-long tribute sets of Matchbox 20, Hootie and the Blowfish, and Pearl Jam on Friday, which features members of Grace's Downfall. So,
Sounds like a blast.
yeah, I mean, no surprise it has members of Grace's Downfall because we all know what a big Pearl Jam and Hootie and the Blowfish fans they are. So that totally makes sense. I think they should stick with that name. That's pretty great. Nowhere Slow is going to pack the place on Saturday, and DJ Huff is hosting karaoke on Sunday. And our NEPA Scene Rising Talent Open Mic and Talent Contest is back on Tuesdays. We're there till the end of June, and it's been a blast so far. We've only done 3 weeks, but it's been more packed than it's been in a long time. It's came back strong for whatever reason. I guess people really missed it. We were gone for like 4 months.
It's a good time.
Yep.
Yeah, it's always a good time. You've been to them. You've seen what it's like. But yeah, please stop down on Tuesdays. It's always a good time. We give $50 cash away every single week to whatever performer wins the audience vote, and then they go on to the final showcase where you can win $250 plus a video production by Ionic Development. So if you want a music video for your band, or if you're a comedian and you want like a nice high quality video of your set, to a good crowd, that kind of thing. That's all free if you win the contest. So pretty cool, and thank you to our sponsors of that as well, and to the V Spot for putting up with our craziness every Tuesday. So let's not tread too much ground of what we talked about last time, but I want to get started just by asking why is this whole thing important to you personally? Why this cause and not, there's so many other causes, but why this cause in particular of legalizing marijuana? Why is that important to you guys?
Would you like me to start? Would you like to start?
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, cannabis prohibition is a lie. It's flat-faced lie. Schedule 1 prohibition on a controlled substance list, it doesn't belong there. So this being said, my life has been affected by the law. I grew up, worried, watching over my shoulder, thinking I was a criminal by choosing cannabis over other substances that were out there, alcohol included.
Sure.
But I'm not beating on alcohol because I like alcohol, but I think we should have the same rights.
Absolutely.
Cannabis. We've done the research. I've watched the research. I've seen it firsthand save lives. But at the same time, I've seen the federal government, and the states, continue their war against something that they should just end. So that's my big, that's the reason why I'm in it.
I'm sure that you've seen an evolution of the festival over the last. This will be the 5th year.
Yeah, 5th year.
And it started as the Northeastern Pennsylvania Cannabis Festival and kind of grew into the Pennsylvania Cannabis Festival. So now it's the biggest of all the festivals in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, we are the only real large festival calling for the full legalization of Pennsylvania. Eventually there will be plenty of them around here, but
Sure.
yeah, we started off with around 600 people in a field, and now we have grown to 10,000 people, 15,000 people potentially this year. So every year we expect it to grow, no pun intended. Eventually, with $13 million adults in the state of Pennsylvania, and our ambitions to eventually go down to, somewhere, to stay in Scranton, to, branch out, eventually, if we keep this going, we're potentially looking at a larger crowd coming, to our event, a very large crowd, with that many adults in Pennsylvania being, a free event, so we enjoy doing this, putting on a free event for the public to come and get the education, see our culture, because the way our culture has been displayed, is, there's a lot of small businesses that participate in our event who want to be part of the culture, artists, there's a lot more to our culture than, they portray.
Oh, absolutely.
That's awesome to be able to show people, because I feel like it is like so misrepresented in so many ways, especially like people who are so opposed to it that really aren't educated on anything about it. So for you guys to actually put a visual for people, like this is what you're fighting against, and like obviously there's no real reason for them to feel the way that they feel other than just like their own fears, I guess, or their own beliefs. So I think it's so important to show people, and like that's what you guys are doing. You're actually like putting in the work and like giving people a visual of like what the reality is versus what they're being told, I guess.
Right.
You gotta take consideration. You're talking years of indoctrination, like 80 years of indoctrination. So some people are never gonna ever believe that it's medicinal and it has any good in society, and that's fine. And you're never gonna have anybody agree on anything. So that being said, you're entitled to your own opinions, but you're not your own facts. The facts are there, and that's the reason why we do what we do.
I also wanted, we didn't get into this last time, and I kind of wanted to just, to clarify for people, what is your business, Big Yield Hydroponics? What does that do exactly?
Okay, so
an average person who would have no idea what that means.
Yep, well, hydroponics is a big throw-around word for many styles of growing. We do carry organic gardening supplies, premium fertilizers, lighting, carbon filtration, things that you would need in specialized gardening environments, especially indoors. Making an indoor gardening environment is very, very particular. You have the conditions with lighting, heat, humidity. There's a lot of CO2. There's a lot of things that go into a controlled environment growing. It could be really easy or it could be really complicated. Our store has everything from the real easy to the real complicated. So we've been doing this for 7 years now, and we plan on continuing teaching people how to garden, because gardening is never a crime ever. You think about it, the poppy plant, we're in the middle of a crisis, right?
Right.
You can grow it. Why not cannabis? You know what I mean? So they prohibited growing a plant that they should never have prohibited. Regulate, sure, they can regulate it, by all means, but they can't stop us from gardening a garden variety vegetable. So.
So what kind of people come into your business? How does that,
gardeners,
how does that work?
Gardeners. We also
whether they're wheatgrass gardeners or tomato gardeners or.
Yeah. We also we do classes how to make your own edibles for medical patients. We sign up medical patients in our store. We've done over 200. We're probably around 220 right now. Free sign-ups. We spend about a half an hour explaining the program with these people. So it's a big process over the last year to take on. We sign people up, explain the program, if they need help,
finding a doctor, because there's doctors in town that are charging upwards of $450 just for a 3-month certification.
Yep.
You shouldn't be spending over $200 and $250 for your doctor.
You're gonna find people that are gonna take advantage wherever they can.
Yep.
I think.
Yep.
Right. Especially with new laws like this, where people aren't
There's
really
no,
sure how
there's
it
no
works.
regulation. There is
Yeah.
no limit of what you can charge your patients.
So we tell them the truth. We tell them things like,
get it done.
don't go driving. Expect a DUI. The state, even though they passed a law saying that they can, pretty much deal the cannabis at this point and have control of it, they never really fixed the laws when it came to DUIs. So 3 days later, you have cannabis in your blood, or you smell like cannabis leaving the dispensary. They can pull you out and technically take your blood, and if you have any trace amounts of any metabolite in you, THC metabolites, you're getting a DUI. Period. So
Does CBD have the same?
CBD.
CBD can give you a false positive.
And you
They,
had that.
they don't test for CBD metabolite. Oh, it's only
Okay.
THC metabolites. That being said, most CBD products have a base amount of THC with them, a minimal amount. The federal guideline is 0.3 or below. So most products are, unless they're pure isolates, are have a small amount of THC, so you can come up with just a small amount.
If it's like immediate.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, and that will stay in your blood because it's stored in your fat cells and slowly released. And unlike any
it's
other
healthy
drug,
for you.
yeah, well, exactly, because you have an endocannabinoid system, and it's kept to keep it regulated. So.
Speaking of the government, let's get into the Department of Health and the issues with that. So you guys made some headlines in the last month or so, and so people read headlines and they don't really read articles, unfortunately.
It's because you got to pay for it.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's true.
and that's a whole other thing altogether. I'm all about journalists getting paid, but I'm not really sure about blocking the public from seeing general news. I don't think that makes any sense to me, but that's a whole other debate. But people don't really maybe know all the details or understand what happened there. So the Department of Health comes in and says you can't have dispensaries or growers participating in or sponsoring the event, which obviously hurts you guys financially. It hurts kind of the what you're trying to do with education and to get it out to people. So why did this happen all of a sudden? It seemed like the last couple of years there wasn't any issues, and now this year here we are.
Well,
No idea.
we could take our guesses. We can sit here all day long and guess.
You could
Yeah.
all day. Yep.
We've reached out. We didn't receive any communication because of the bureaucratic wall. We've had industry people reach out. We've had their answers. We've had media people reach out. They've gotten answers. Many different answers. Everything from
Oh, it changed every time someone called.
yep, they were definitely
Okay.
crawling around looking for some kind of general.
The first
Answer.
reason was we were not medically focused. Our event is not medically focused.
Okay.
Which is a bold-faced lie.
Which
Yeah.
where they're saying we were recreational, and I'm like, what? Parks and Rec? Recreational? And I
Right.
think that's exactly what it was.
Huh.
Because we were at a free public park. It's like, well, then why are they allowed to go to baseball fields and tailgating at
And
the
casinos
Eagles?
and
Yeah.
And casinos.
disco
and,
biscuit concerts
and Celtic
disco
festivals.
biscuits.
And
You know
it's
what that
like,
means?
come on.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean,
They probably don't.
Great music, but you got to understand it. Even the word itself. You're gonna not like the word cannabis and be out there pushing cannabis, but at the same time, so it's interesting. It definitely hurts because as soon as we get done with this event, we start looking for sponsors for next year because something this size isn't free to throw.
Sure.
It's free to show up, but it's not free to throw. Trust me.
Yeah.
Bands don't play for free.
Yeah.
Music.
I wouldn't expect them to.
No,
but,
and
you know.
and the whole event is ever as it grows, and so the bills.
Yeah, bills.
So we start every single year with sponsorships. We start calling around to companies that might be interested in this geographic region. Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey. There's 30 million adults here. To reach 30 million adults like that and to have that kind of in something that's new is great. So. We had reached out to many companies and we got some great sponsors. Crop King Seeds out of Canada, very, very awesome platinum sponsor. CX Horticulture, great company, makes premium nutrients, fertilizers for plants. And we had gotten quite a few other grower and processors. And we would have got plenty of more if the department didn't pass their opinion off on our event, which is the number one thing. It's one thing they have oversight over these people and they can deny them, and we can have a gripe over that, but it's another thing to send out a memo to every single grower and processor in the whole state of Pennsylvania passing off an opinion on our event.
Yeah, even the ones that
That
weren't even
does damage
signed
on our
up,
event
they
that
all
is
got the
irreparable
email.
forever. And we don't deserve it. We're the ones who fought for the law
It's the two
that
of
they're
us.
running now.
Right.
I mean, it's not just us two. There's other people out there doing it, and the mothers definitely fought for the law and got it across the board. But we were part of that too. We are still part of the change, and I think that's the part of the problem is that they were trying to stop that change right now.
Right.
There's a kind of the medical market with adult use legalization markets coming through is probably going to change. That being said, it could change for the better, and by no means we do want it to change for the worse, but it's going to change, and they might not have control over it when it does change. You
I
know,
think that's what
they might
they're
have
scared of.
oversight over it, but they may not have control over it. So that's speculation, whether that's really the issue here or, you know,
Right.
because it doesn't make sense. I mean, they allow growers and processors to go across the whole state doing all kinds of stuff, just baseball games and, you know, recreational stuff.
Right.
But you're going to deny them to go to the one event where it's cannabis.
If
Yeah,
you
that's
think
the
about
focus.
it, if you think
That
about
is
it,
the
it's
focus.
public
How
health.
do-
They're
how are
really
we
concerned
not
about public
medically
health.
focused?
They would
Just
allow
doesn't
the people to, you know, in the public to get the information because they're not giving the information out. I promise you that much. They didn't sign
Call
200
that
people up.
number.
In,
Go
they
ahead
didn't
and call
sign
that
200 people up in the city of
Ain't nobody
Scranton.
going to answer it.
Right.
Yep,
Believe me.
we did. You know, because we are the ones who made it work, and we're the ones who will make it work in the future. You know, so it's a shame to have them do that. And what they did was on purpose. It was deliberate, and it's not over by no means. We're gonna keep on our event will keep on going on. We will keep on growing, and these companies will either support us or they won't. You know, so it's our job to do the work to free, you know, the plant, so you know we don't have this kind of control.
So the one of the other things they were picking apart, I think Philly.com had mentioned it about samples, about being able to give samples, there being a cannabis cup, that kind of thing. But that isn't part of this actual event. That's not part of the festival. That's a separate thing.
Yeah, I don't ever think that became an issue. That was the paper writing about something.
And that's
now
what I
now
wanted to
we
clarify, is
did
that
now we
the
did have we
paper speculating on stuff and adding something.
no, I mean that wasn't the department. You know, the department I don't think
That was
ever
the
passed an
reporter.
opinion on our judging of Pennsylvania's medical products, which is a normal thing. You should be able to judge, especially when they're out there with the flavors and the advertising and all that. So we should be able to judge that, and especially if it's good for you and medicinally, you know, we should be able to judge it and let people know that these medicinal effects work for, you know, and this is what works best for it. You know,
Sure.
That's the cup. Because of the department's decision, we decided to postpone the cup. It just we're not going to put any more into that system than we
Right.
have to. We're building the next system. You know, so that's been postponed. That being said, that was a totally separate event from this event, and that was, you know, when these growers and processors show up at my event, they're not giving out samples.
Right.
You know,
They were
they're not
giving
doing.
out
They're giving out
t-shirts,
information
hats.
and, you know, on the program and the product. You know, so I don't understand what their issue would be with that. You know,
Right.
so. Especially to the target audience. I mean, you're literally talking to cannabis consumers or people that can go reach people who could use this product. You know, people with opiate problems. You know, that's our number one fight right now. You know, so we see a lot of opiate addicts getting on the program and getting off of opiates with cannabis. So why not encourage it? Why the stigma? Why continue it? You know, so.
Well, it's something that you know now the politicians will use that as you know, we want to attack this opioid problem and we want to address it or whatever, but there's no real clear answers. They don't really have any ideas per se.
That's had any
I've-
ideas.
Yeah, I've never heard of other than talking about it. You know,
Right.
which is
Other
like,
than
okay, it took us this long to
acknowledging it.
have this conversation.
All anybody's doing is acknowledging it.
Right? Yeah.
No one's coming up with any solution.
Well,
It's certainly getting worse before it gets better.
There's people coming up with solutions that are being blocked.
They're
Because
not-
because
yeah.
because you know there's a group, Blueprints for Recovery. They took part in our event last year. They started in what county is it?
Lancaster.
Yeah, in Lancaster County. They went down there and started, you know, it's a diversionary program. Rather than sending addicts to jail, they get them treatment right on the spot. You know how hard it is to get addict treatment right on the spot? Because to get somebody that treatment that day when they say they want help is the key. You know, the next day after they're going and, you know, and using again, you're not going to get that. You know, so that's what they do is they go out but the district attorney, in the same breath as, you know, in Lackawanna County, he pretty much held up Scranton's decriminalization because he doesn't want to buck federal law. And he cited federal law even though they're selling medical cannabis in his town.
And
you know.
growing
So
it.
Right.
it doesn't make any sense.
Growing
But,
and
but he
dispensing
also
it.
he does the same thing with that program. So he more or less stopped that whole program by not allowing a diversionary program. He wants them to go through the criminal system because he figures the criminal system is the best way to go because there's treatment in the criminal system. But the treatment in the criminal system is filled with stoners.
Yeah, so now we're all going to rehab.
So so you have 31 stoners being arrested in 2 months, and then you have like
Zero
four
for-
addicts, four opiate and cocaine addicts combined. You know, and it's like
Where is the...
it just doesn't make sense. You know, but all those cannabis busts are going through treatment.
I know
Yeah,
that
so-
there are a lot of like people in positions like magistrates and things like that that are putting like crazy bails on drug dealers and people that are, you know, doing hard drugs or selling hard drugs or interacting with hard drugs.
Sure.
So that's like one thing that I think that people actually are doing. So I mean, I'm not going to say people are doing like absolutely nothing.
Right, but if it's such a crisis, then why do they keep on picking the low
The
hanging
numbers
fruit?
are so low.
If you look at the
Right.
numbers, the reported numbers, I mean,
They're
in
arresting
2019,
cannabis
I was looking at Lackawanna County combined. In 2019, they only arrested. I'm not sure if there's another program for it. They're not just reporting it, but only 8 dealers in the past 3 months, cocaine and opiates combined.
And like 50.
You know how many people got
cannabis.
arrested for just small possession? It was somewhere around like 40
Yeah,
or
it's like
something
40
like
to
that.
50. It's
It
like,
was
come on,
like,
man,
you
like,
kidding me? And all
we're
40
in
of
an
those people. And then we're watching the county commissioner meetings and watching these people come in and beg for money because they don't have any money for rehab. Because
They
all
need
those
money for
people, and most of these
transportation.
people who are going through, you know,
Drug
not rehab,
court.
for, you know, going through the drug programs are, you know, lower income, and it's being all paid for by the county. So
Right.
if you guys want to save money, just stop it. You know, it's
Right.
inevitable, you know, so. Or at least decriminalized right now, and that's the thing is our state has not decriminalized. They've held up, they've drugged their feet, they've held back, and we have a Republican-controlled legislature right now. We have 0 mercy votes. You know, we have Democrats that are even against us. So we still have a long way to go here in the state of Pennsylvania. This isn't over by no means.
Sure. And it's interesting that the Republicans are fighting this because they're always talking about individualism and freedom.
Less
and,
government,
Yeah,
states'
less
rights.
government, you know, out of your lives, that sort of thing. But it seems like everything they propose and everything that they're pushing for,
Big
is just more
pharma's
and
in their
more there.
pocket.
It
And
may be
that's
that.
a big part of
It may be
yeah,
that,
for
and
sure.
it's not the people. I'm telling you this right now. It's not the Republican people. It's the Republican Party.
Yes.
There's a big difference. You
That's
know,
true.
and my Republican friends they beat their heads against the wall. They don't understand what's happening in the party. Why there's such that, you know.
I see a
There's
lot of disconnect
disconnect.
because I have a lot of friends and family that are Republican, and I see a disconnect between what they believe and what's
Being done.
being like what's actually happening.
Right.
That
Yeah.
I think I get confused by.
You know, you got to think about. I mean, stock markets. I mean, they're all investing in the stock markets, but they're still keeping it illegal.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's a new economy, you know, and it's not fair.
I
It's
mean,
not
there's
fair to do that
Republicans
with
that
it.
also see
Those
the
are human lives, and
financial
that's human
aspect of it,
capital,
too.
you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I see Republicans also being like, oh, how are we gonna make? How is this money gonna come in my pocket?
We got to look at John Boehner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know
Yep.
that guy right
Right.
there. I mean, he ran the United States government, you know, the legislative body, and he was able to make all decisions for, you know, where to send all these bills, legalization bills. He could have sent them to committees to get passed, but he sent them to committees to die. And then he gets out and he, you know,
Jumps on board.
with well, they're actually getting acquired by another company right now, which is the world's largest. So you have all these canopy growth corporation, but you have all these companies being bought out and bought out and bought out, and you have this whole consolidation thing going out with corporate cannabis, and it's kind of interesting to watch, you know. So, but his company just got bought out by another large company, so, and he was on the board of it.
That's an interesting topic too in itself. Where, you know, is there a fear, you know, from your end and from other advocates' end that it's going to become too corporatized? Because you see millionaires and billionaires have obviously, you know, it doesn't matter what side of the political spectrum you're on, have absolutely ruined this country and ruined a lot of aspects of business and everyday life because they want to corporatize and profit off of everything. So you see this industry is now coming up, and already these guys are coming in and they're buying their way in. Is there a fear that they're going to, you know, ruin this industry before it even really gets off the ground, or turn it into, you know, something that's just kind of processing out crap?
So far, so good. You know, so far the corporations in Pennsylvania have been really decent. They've been supportive. They've been behind the plant. It's been working. That being said, Bayer Monsanto is currently interested in the plant, the genetics, you know, controlling the seed. Hemp, cannabis, it's all the same thing, you know. So, and it's going to take their money in order to hybridize this crop and get this crop to the point where it's like corn or something that's standard. You can grow a standard crop and a farmer can rely on it. Cannabis farming is not easy. You know, everybody likes to act like they know what they're doing, but it's not easy when you're talking on a mass scale. It's a lot of work, a lot of risk too. So that being said, it's going to take big business, but the right big business. not people who are going to control the seed. You have to have a certain amount of freedom there. You want the genetics not to be controlled. You want the genetics to be diverse, although genetics really aren't diverse right now because our government really went across the whole world and tried to eradicate this plant. You know, if we were allowed to, you know, if there never was a war on this plant, we would have many more varieties than we have right now. We're really limited in what we have right now when we're working with, you know, so in the future, we'll, you know, hopefully if they allow people to harvest the seed, grow the seed, and garden from themselves, they won't have as much corporate control. Corporations can, you know, and this economy can do what they want, you know, and they can go ahead and fight it out as long as they give us our right to grow our own and consume our own without that, you know, interfering with that, you know, so.
Right, and that's I think going to be maybe a fight that's in the future at some point. You know, who
Oh,
knows?
yes, definitely. And that's something in Pennsylvania, you know, home grow is a must.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whether we'll get it at tonight, at the end of the day, who knows?
Right.
But,
We better.
yeah.
Plus, you know, then you're going to be competing with big tobacco and you know the alcohol producers and everything else. So you know, there's definitely other, you know, that I think they're going to feel like you're cutting in on our territory here. You know, if people are going to go out and, you know,
They'll just print more dollars. So, you know,
recreational
they'll just print more dollars. It's no problem, you know. I'm cutting nobody's throat.
You know what? Let me. We'll stop and maybe read a couple of comments quick before we jump into the next topic. And lots of people cheering you on.
Very nice.
Proud way to go, which is great. That's what I love about our audience as compared to a lot of the other local media around here. It's like the comments are a cesspool usually, but our comments are always so nice. Like we very rarely get those nasty or weird comments. And you know, I also will go out of my way to, you know, if you're like abusing it, I'm just gonna block you. Whereas they're just like, you know what,
Troll
let's,
territory.
yeah,
right?
no, let's
Let
keep
it
it going
roll.
as long as it's you know, pushing us up in the Facebook feeds. Who cares, you know? But I try to cut that stuff out. But people are really good in our comments for the most part. So you have to be kind of like tuned in the whole time. A lot of times, like Facebook will
Do the
if you like
on-time
tune
thing.
out and then tune back in, yeah, it won't let you see a lot of it. But if you guys have any questions or anything you want to add, please by all means throw those in there.
The festival's still going on, even though.
Oh, yeah, and the weather's getting great, guys. The weather's gonna be perfect, you know.
Yeah, don't
Everybody's
fret that stuff so
fretting,
much.
you know, it's crazy. But yeah, no, it's gonna be a beautiful day, you know, 70-some degrees, and it always is.
Pretty sunshiny day.
Sunshine for sure.
Telling you, love you guys, and keep up the good fight. Absolutely, that's some good stuff there. Now, did you guys? I think I saw you guys attended the Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman's tour. So he's been, for those who don't know, he's been doing a statewide listening tour. Now he himself is a proponent of marijuana legalization, but he wants to kind of hear everybody's opinions and get an idea of which I think is a great idea, and he's been going to every county. Like he's literally been all over the state. So he's about halfway through his tour now. He came to Lackawanna County. Is that where you guys saw him?
That's correct.
Okay, so he stopped in Lackawanna County. Can you tell us a little bit about what that was like? You know, what kinds of stories did you hear? What was that whole conversation about? I'm curious for those who maybe didn't go or didn't get a chance to see it.
Well,
It's interesting.
no,
whatever.
first of all, it's great. It's great that the governor sent, you know, our lieutenant governor out to hear people's opinions, because this is, you know, it's about as American as you can. Just, you know, go to a town hall and speak up and have an opinion on something, right or wrong.
Totally, yeah.
You know, well, you know,
Should I put that back up here?
We all knew
that's
Laureen
cool.
Cummings was going to be sitting right up
Oh,
front.
of course.
so Lorraine Cummings and crew came, and you know they had their say, and that was fine, and they can have their say. We all had our say. It was pretty well in support of, you know, legalization. Somewhere around 85% of the room was. So that went really well. We all got we had a little bit of back and forth, a little bit. I guess Fetterman said it was probably the rowdiest crowd he was around. We had a little bit, you know, back and forth.
That's
Good,
make-
though.
that
That's
makes
like good
sense.
old fashioned.
But it got all of our heart
Passionate.
rates going, and it felt
Yeah.
good. You know, we
Yeah,
felt
yeah.
alive. So you know, but the real shame of the whole thing was a gentleman who was in a wheelchair, not because he was immobilized, because he can't. It pains him to stand and walk. He's disabled. He explained his condition and how he has bone on bone in both hips, on both sides of his hips, and how his back was partially severed, his spine, and how cannabis had played a role in his life, and how it has been his miracle. And he showed how he got up out of his chair and kind of walked, unsteadily, but he walked and showed people how he did. Well, Ms. Cummings, she kind of stormed out after that. She couldn't take it, so she stormed right out of the room. The lieutenant governor asked her to please,
Quiet.
be quiet, and she
Yeah.
she
She didn't handle
she
that
immediately
well.
went
She
to
had leave.
Facebook.
She stormed out.
Right.
immediately went to Facebook, her and her little posse, and literally blasted this guy. Put his face out there,
Like,
screenshot.
I can't believe the almighty pot. Like, this is what they're saying. Like,
What?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
and,
bad.
and literally picking on a disabled man in public, and that's a public official. And
Did anybody set her straight?
oh yeah.
we tried. We tried. She can't be set straight. She's
dead behind the
she's promised us meetings. She won't answer our phone calls.
She won't even
she's not,
return
she's not
phone
meet- Yeah, she's not
calls,
meeting
let
with
alone
anybody she's
answer
promised
them.
meetings with. We did. We went to a commissioners meeting, and we went one after the other saying our piece to her. And they tried to kick us out of the room. They're whispering back and forth. They're calling us zealots.
Wow, it's like
Pulling all kinds of
1959.
and it was and they're definitely definitely against us for speaking up about it, but we had to
If you
say
can
our,
have a
we had to say our piece.
conversation.
It's the lowest common denominator to pick on people for their physical traits or disabilities, period. If that's
Right.
that's your intelligence level, you should not be in politics, and that's probably what's going to happen to her in this next
She
election.
says she's a nurse. She shows no compassion.
Yeah, that I do not understand at all.
I mean, she's still on a crusade even up till
Yesterday.
last commissioner meeting yesterday. She brought somebody in. She seemed to find this one guy who smoked a joint and had psychosis from one joint.
And spent like 180 days in the hospital.
After one joint. Although, I mean, I'm not going to pick on this guy because I give him credit for getting up and once again and speaking on. And he wrote a book after he got done with his psychosis. He wrote a book on, and he's involved with groups now who, and he's making his life better and making those people's lives better. And he has a message too, because cannabis isn't for everybody, and none of us say it's all good, because some things happen, but they're so minute, and nobody's talking about bleach. Right?
Tide
Yo,
Pods.
would you want your kid getting into bleach right now? Drinking it, bathing in it? Well, it's in every household. We're not having big conversations about that. How many people die from bleach a year? Ingesting. I imagine it's probably in the hundreds, in the United States. But they're not concerned about cannabis. It's we do have some amount of hospitalizations, but most of those hospitalizations are emergency room related, and then they are literally it's sent home the next day, and there's nothing they can do with anxiety. So things do happen. But she did. She's going out of her way. And that's the thing, she's going really out of her way to find these people and parade them in front of the public and make a spectacle of it and just flat out refuse to hear the information and the legitimate science. I showed her a patent the federal government holds on it. A federal patent, and it has every single cannabinoid that they knew of at the point and a molecular structure and all this, the scientific speak underneath telling you exactly what it does in the human body in your endocannabinoid system. And she looked at it and she goes, well, I think they stopped that study because it's killing people.
They're still
I'm like,
giving people cannabis to this day.
Yeah, so I mean, it just.
okay,
I'm like, well, how are they going to act like it's not medicinal, but hold a patent on it? The Health and Human, Services of the United States of America. So it makes zero sense, especially with somebody like that. They won't hear you, So
They don't. It doesn't matter what you show them or tell them.
no, there's something else going on there. So.
Right.
Well, I wanted to read a couple quotes Fetterman did an interview about it the other day, and he said the 14, 15 events we've done so far, we haven't had a con room, one that's against completely. We've had varying degrees of pro support.
That changed.
So
Jefferson County, 44-60 against.
I did want to mention too. Franklin County has an interesting. There's an interesting thing with that as well. The Franklin County delegation. This is just an article I read today. The Pennsylvania House of Representatives issued a statement on Thursday after declining to participate in the listening tour stop in Franklin County. So the statement was released by Republican Representatives John Hershey, Rob Kaufman, Paul Schmel, and Jesse Topper. Now this is their side of it, so I'll read their statement because they're not here to defend themselves. So I want to at least say, okay, here's what the other side is saying. Here's what they're talking about. So he said on May 2nd, Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman will be bringing his marijuana listening tour to Franklin County, which they put listening in quotes there. Fetterman was endorsed by the Marijuana Industry PAC, trading under the abbreviation NORMAL, which called Fetterman an unrelenting champion of legalizing pot. When the Lieutenant Governor visits Franklin County, what exactly is he listening for? Despite the growing acceptance of marijuana as a medicinal drug, incontestable research, which they never mentioned, by the way, and experience shows that recreational use to be dangerous, especially among our youth. Research shows that, again, very general research shows, not really sure where, there's no links or anything like that to this research, that a repeated use of marijuana negatively affects the development of the adolescent brain. Other research clearly correlates marijuana use with the use of harder drugs like heroin, cocaine, and methamphetamines. Marijuana users are more likely to consume alcohol irresponsibly. Indeed, a recent report issued by, a source, Colorado Division of Criminal Justice, analyzing the impact of legalizing recreational marijuana in that state, found that after legalization, DUIs increased, high school suspensions increased, road fatalities increased, and job readiness decreased. By any metric, those are horrendous outcomes, add to the increases in insurance rates, and there's not a lot to like about legalizing marijuana in Pennsylvania. Though we commend his willingness to hear both sides, we wonder if he will be really listening. We recognize this event for what it is. Cover to push an agenda of legalizing drugs. Representative Hershey already experienced this firsthand when he attended a listening tour in Wauneta County at the Lieutenant Governor's invitation. We believe this tour is a sham and we decline to be a part of it. Drugs are dangerous. That is what we teach our children. Pennsylvania should not fall into the trap that drugs are okay, because they are not. So very specifically outlining how they feel on this, not very specific on these studies other than one. Hearing this, what is your response to that? I'm sure you've heard all these arguments before.
We weren't talking about legalizing drugs, guys.
Yeah, I'm like, drugs are bad.
For children.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, we never said legalize drugs. I mean, so
Cannabis
what are they
is not a
talking
drug.
about?
Right.
Cannabis is not a
We're
drug.
not talking about legalize. We're
Yeah.
not talking. Well, regardless, we're not talking about legalizing drugs here. We're talking about legalizing cannabis, not marijuana. They love the word marijuana.
I hate that
Just
word.
love that word marijuana. It's cannabis. It's all cannabis. It's a plant species name. Marijuana's slang. So marijuana. Drugs. Like, we're not legalizing drugs here. All right. So all right. So I can pull research up. I can show you all kinds of good things. I can show you, all right, so increases. Of course, when you have population increases, you're going to have increases. What are those increases? Are they terrible increases? Are they 30%? Are they 100? All right, so DUIs. Now, wouldn't you want more enforcement in a state that actually legalized?
Right.
Of course that number's going to go up.
They're looking for
The
it.
testing,
Right.
the testing's getting better.
Yeah.
And these states, they're all hitting people for DUIs with zero tolerance, zero science. So it's easy to give somebody a DUI and have those numbers go up and boost those numbers, because those cops are all telling each other to go out and arrest these people right now, because we want those numbers boosted, because those organizations and that are the head organizations for the state have come out against us. So it's a big conspiracy
And they have
against
to make
us.
their money, too.
They didn't come out against any other group.
So they're literally creating their own statistics, essentially.
No, I mean, and this is a good thing. I mean, you don't want people out there impaired driving. You just don't. And same with alcohol. You just don't want people impaired driving. But there's metrics for alcohol.
Right.
They can teach you how to drink. 1, 2, third tier. Cannabis is third tier. There is no 1, 2, 3. You're the highest rated DUI, no questions asked. You get the highest rated, suspension, everything. With a and it makes 0 sense, and it's at 0 nanograms per milliliter. So literally, I mean, as a medical patient, I can I may have consumed this morning. I can go next morning, and if I said that I consumed that morning before, I get a DUI just by admitting that I used the day before. That's DUI. So of course DUI numbers are going to go up.
Yeah.
It's kind of they're really doing a disservice by not telling the truth and putting science behind it. Because we need our police to do their job. Yeah, when something happens, I call the police. I don't know about you guys. Like that's what we need them to do their job, and when they respond to our business, they're more than grateful to be there, and they do their job. They don't want to continue these policies. The lawmakers need to change it. But unfortunately, the lawmakers pull stuff like this.
Yeah, like they're just following.
They're legalizing
policies.
drugs, guys.
Right.
We're not legalizing drugs. We're talking about actually. They don't talk about teen use rates going down in states that legalized, right? They don't talk about that. They don't talk about opiate use going down. They don't
Or
talk about
alcohol
that.
use
There's
going
just
down.
shock and awe, and that's what they're trying to do. And they're getting the people who are indoctrinated for all these years, who don't have access to the internet, or legitimate, or who won't hear the legitimate stuff like Lorraine Cummings,
Sure.
to jump on board. So.
Well, the thing that stands out to me in this little statement here is that they're attacking him for saying that, well, he's one-sided and he's only listening to one side of it, but nothing in this statement talks about the other side. Like, we could see his point here, or we could agree with this, or we've read this study that says this, but we have this study that counteracts that. It's just straight up, no, it's wrong, it's bad, drugs are bad, that's it. Like, there's no other side to their conversation. So if they're going to criticize him for his opinions, I think they should also not only back it up with a few more sources, but also to balance out their own statement and talk about this in a more realistic sense that are going to pull people from the other side. This is like a very much a pandering to the base kind of thing, where it's like, okay, we're going to rile our guys up and stuff. And Laureen is very good at that too. She can rile up her little group of minions, but they're not willing to listen to the other side of it, whereas you guys clearly are. You've heard all these arguments before. You have counter arguments, right? You have studies that you can show people. That's what I don't really understand about her. And I think it'd be easy, a lot of people are picking on her for the way she looks or anything like that. My first encounter with her was actually many years ago. I was a reporter for Go Lackawanna at the time, a paper that is no longer around, but when I was a reporter there, I had met her, and she had just started coming to the Lackawanna County Commissioner meetings. This was long before she ran for office or anything. And she would get up every week and every couple weeks that they had these meetings and just kind of rant and rave and not really have any sort of point. So it's kind of what she does now, just sitting on the other side. But the funny thing is the first thing that she said that stuck out to me right away, and I made sure to quote it in the piece so that I wouldn't forget that she said this, was, "I don't know anything about government or the way it works, but..." And then went on with her statement. And to me, it's like, well, then everything out of your mouth is completely invalidated. If you don't know anything about the way this works, you don't get to say, well, here's how I think it should work. Well, you figure out how it works first and then criticize it, or then say how you would do it or whatever. Like, that really stood out to me right away. And it kind of put me in the frame of mind, okay, that's how this person deals with issues and talks about issues. So it wasn't too much of a surprise that she won either, because of the way the commissioners are set up is you have to have two of one party and one of another party. You have to have a majority and a minority commissioners. And of course, most of the time, because we lean kind of Democratic in this area, in that particular area of Pennsylvania anyway, usually it's two Democrats and one Republican. It has been the other way before, but it usually leans that way or the other. So you almost kind of have a default, where it's like this: if nobody's really running Republican, to kind of oppose her, someone who's a little more reasonable or a little bit more well-educated on these topics, she's just going to kind of get in by default. And that's my fear, is that she's going to kind of continue to just default into this position that she doesn't really necessarily deserve, because through my research and what I've read too, I can't really see what she's done that's made anybody's lives any better in the county. I always, if I'm voting for anybody, I'm looking at, what are your policies? What do you stand for? And then what have you actually done in the few years that we have given you? You've been elected. You've had a chance to do something. And all I see is just these ridiculous rants that she does every week, whether it's this or,
Arts.
Yeah,
Arts.
last year was about the arts.
Gender.
And the whole gender bathroom thing, and it's like
Fish.
Yeah, what is
Fish, like in the Lackawanna.
Oh, yeah, being,
turning transsexual or something. I don't know. She just.
Was she Alex Jones? Turning the frogs gay.
That's
Yeah,
it
no,
was
it's
pretty
kinda-
much. It was right
Which
along that
was
line.
like,
Yeah.
what
where
is she
sources are
saying?
coming from. But like, I see that stuff, and I'm just like, okay, you're wasting our time with these ridiculous rants. What are you doing? What are you actually like accomplishing by this? You're pandering to your base, and you're getting them riled up too. But how have you made even your base's lives better? What have you done in the county that's actually made anybody's lives better? You haven't, and
The
that's
revealing part about it and the scariest part about it is that people
Still vote for her.
voted for her.
Yes,
Oh,
and they
absolutely.
still will.
Oh yeah. I've seen a few road signs and from people's
But
lawns
I mean,
and stuff
she
like
does
that.
not. I don't think that she truly represents like the Republican Party.
No, and that's the problem is that nobody's willing to step up and say, okay, I'm going to run on
There you
the
Yeah.
the basis of
We need
here's
to get
what we
her going,
actually
yeah.
believe.
Oh,
here's what we want to get accomplished. And then run against her. It's just it's like one of those. There's a few positions.
She's already lit the fire out under a couple of people's asses, so
I hope so.
happening. It's happening. It's already in the works. It's just too.
She must be pissing off enough Republicans that somebody
Yeah.
I
is
hope
gonna like do
Let's
something.
hope.
Young people
Yeah.
who care about this
Right.
area are coming up and will challenge her shortly. If Shermack don't get the seats, Shermack might beat her. He's formidable competition, so he might have her seat next. But the next election cycle, believe it, that people are going to be running who are going to be worth it. So
She even went as far as she was at a county commissioners association of the Pennsylvania's annual conference and trade show in Gettysburg.
this is dangerous.
And she proposed two cannabis reforms. One was to allow individual counties to restrict medical marijuana or completely opt out of a medical cannabis legalization. The second reform was asked to the CCAP to oppose adult use cannabis. But those were both kind of tabled.
Well, yeah, she was a
immediately.
little too late.
Right.
She was kind of like just showing up with this.
She was
stuff.
shocked.
Well, yeah,
a year
she
later.
didn't understand that 18 months after the wolf signed it into law that it was law. She's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
wait, what? They did this? Who did this? I'm gonna have to look into this. I can't believe this. And I was invited
She's
to
too busy
the
posting
ribbon
on
cutting.
Facebook.
How dare they invite me? It's like the mayor was there.
That's
What's the problem? They're growing it. They're dispensing it. Like, why are you so anti?
That absolutely goes back to what I was saying before, that she doesn't read. She doesn't know what's going on. She just lives in this little bubble and just kind of repeats these talking points from strange sources that have no real basis in reality, but doesn't want to address the real issues. Or like you said, she's just too late on this.
I think she just drinks the water that's in Old Forge.
There's a lot of Old Forge. Yeah, there's a lot of
Well,
things
you've
going on.
seen
Old Forge.
You want to really trip out. There you go. Drink the water in Old Forge.
It's pretty orange in the Lackawanna River,
But yes, I'm shocked that she's still there, but hopefully she will be voted out in the future. But I will say too, and I don't my views are always very clear on the show. I don't address them too often, but people can tell that I'm a pretty liberal guy. But I would never call myself a Democrat because I just feel like Democrats in general are spineless. They stand for absolutely nothing. And they do nothing. They just kind of coast through. And the one thing that I could always say when the Republicans get up and go, oh, you keep electing these guys and whatever, I gotta say, yeah, you're right. But they haven't given us a better option.
Right.
Like there really aren't those. I would love to see third parties come in and take over, but it just seems like
Never have a chance.
No,
Yeah,
there's
they
always
just
that
don't
brick
even
wall
have a
there,
chance.
and that's how it works in there. It's Coke or Pepsi.
Yeah, absolutely. So I
and-
want to be clear. Like I'm not like,
Thunder.
oh, pro Democrats. They're all great and whatever. They're not doing much better. They're just kind of keeping quiet, especially with these things that matter to us, that
Right.
matter to the people that they're supposed to be serving. They're just not addressing them at all. They're not talking about them. and they're not up front. So I give Fetterman at least credit to at least say, okay, I
And this, and
believe
it's not
this.
John Fetterman. It's Governor Wolf. John Fetterman's just doing. He's just doing what he's
just a face.
told.
Right.
And he's doing it respectfully too. He's not playing a passing opinion here. I mean, anybody can have a personal opinion and then go listen to her own.
Sure.
You know, and he does that very well. And this is the governor asking him to go ask because it's a very important thing for
Topic.
Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is completely for it, percentage wise. The problem is it's controlled by a Republican House and Senate who are completely not
Not
just
for it.
against us, but over the top against us.
Yeah.
I mean,
very
legalize
much
all
so.
drugs? I mean, come on. Like, we're legalizing drugs? That's ridiculous. You know, and the leadership says ridiculous stuff, you know, and it doesn't make sense. You know, they said the sky was going to fall when we had the medical program happen. Remember Matt Baker?
Oh,
He
yeah.
stood,
Oh my
he stood there for like,
gosh.
what?
3 hours.
3 or 4 hours.
Saying that we
saying
were gonna,
how
like,
walls
crash
are going to
into
fall on
walls
people
and-
and people are going to crash all over the place. DUIs everywhere. You know,
Man.
do you guys know any personal stories of any DUIs of any medical cannabis patients taking anybody out within the last year and a half or anything? I'm not saying it may never happen, and it may have happened, but it's so minute that there is,
Yes.
you know, and they make that one case into a huge thing, you know, and it's ridiculous.
Right. Absolutely. You know, I did want to, you know, give you a chance too, because you know we're happy to have Brittany back on the show.
I'm here.
You know, what's your take on this? Just, you know, your general
So,
opinion or
I
experience.
mean, I'm
on-
not an active weed smoker. Of course, like a lot of my friends are artists and people that smoke weed for recreation and for medical. I've never been somebody that had a strong opinion about it. I think for me, just learning about it more and more and like the education and understanding it a little bit more has helped me. I was just recently in Portland where
Everything's legal
yeah.
there.
I went to the dispensary. I went to the dispensary for the first time just because I just had never experienced that, you know what I mean? So I was like, oh, this would be cool and different. And like,
Yeah.
you know, I will say that like everybody in Portland walks around with this like shit-eating grin on their face. Like, it's like I'm just like, what the hell is that guy thinking about? I was like eating my like elk burger, looking out this window. Everything there is like very like overly like you can't just get a cheeseburger. It's like elk burger with like blueberry compote. And,
Just
like,
because they have legal weed.
yeah.
They're more creative.
Yeah, like
Exactly.
everything's like
Gosh,
a
the
little
taste
like a
buds are better.
top notch.
Yeah.
But
I mean, things will get better. Trust me.
so
you know?
I think that like everything. I mean, I think that people's arguments against it are usually laughable. I always kind of like feel myself being like, okay, that's ridiculous. Like obviously, like no one's like drinking beer and like telling all the children to like make sure you get your beer in today and like here, like you know what I mean? Like they're talking like as if.
Right.
Yes, yeah.
The
like
children-
we're forcing it down their
Yeah,
throats.
like the
and-
children
yeah.
are all gonna show up and start like smoking weed immediately, and like you know what I mean. Like people are
The kids
people
don't
are-
think it's cool anymore.
No.
It's like what your grandparents do. They're like, my whatever. It's
Yeah,
weed.
Yeah, right.
You know?
I feel like people that are arguing against it are creating these realities that aren't a reality for any other drug or any other substance. Everything that you give medicinally, like Tylenol, not to be given to children under 12, or you know what I mean. Like this is like specifically not for these people. So like they always use that as an argument, but that's not a reality for anything else. Like
Right.
alcohol is not to be consumed for people under 21. Sure, they do it,
Right.
but like that's a whole nother story.
And there's
With, like,
consequences.
and there's
things like-
consequences to everything. So like, you don't give your 5-year-old like 3 ibuprofens because they have a headache. You know what I mean? Like you're not gonna behave that way. So why all of a sudden, because it's marijuana, you're gonna start acting like you're gonna be giving children this stuff? And they always use that, and I never understood that.
Right. Well, I think even Fetterman himself had a quote I saw here before that you know, it's not going to be a free for all.
Yeah, it's not gonna be like
that's not. Yeah, we're not throwing it out.
like
to
no one's gonna be
you
doing
and-
shotguns at recess.
Yes.
You
Yeah,
know?
exactly.
I was. No, I'm just kidding. I really wasn't. But oh wait, is it called a shotgun?
Sure.
You can do a shotgun
I'm like,
with
you can
cannabis.
shotgun.
Yeah, when you
You
blow
can
it,
shotgun
yeah,
a
it's
beer.
like-
You can
yeah,
also
the shotgun.
shotgun
Yeah,
a
that's
Yeah.
joint.
I still got it.
Make you cough though, really good.
Yeah. But like
Just take
people-
your own hit.
Yeah, like obviously that's not what's gonna happen, you know.
Right.
But I feel like people love to create those realities so that because it serves their argument.
True.
But
Keeps the stigma alive.
Silly. Doesn't make any sense.
Right, and that's that's what I think we're really getting at is that this isn't something that people are fed these certain ideas for so long that it just becomes ingrained as that's the truth, and it's absolutely not. I mean, you know,
I mean, we haven't talked about tobacco, but like when you think about that,
well, I believe Laureen herself is a smoker.
Oh yes.
Oh, and
yeah,
admitted,
chain
like
smoker.
she admits it. She's addicted. She can't get off it, and the commercials
blames
really
the
put her on.
commercials.
Right.
You know, and I could see her point with that. Hey, listen,
Candy
you know, I used to
cigarettes and
smoke
all
cigarettes.
that, you know? Yeah.
It's addicting. You know,
Sure.
I quit. It was very hard to do. You know, so it's tough. You know, but cannabis. I don't want to say it's not addicted. It's habit forming, but it doesn't have the same addiction factor, and it's not.
Right.
And it's very hard to put your finger on actually cannabis being addicting more than the habit being addicting. You know, or the
Right.
lifestyle, or the.
well, you have a
You
routine.
know,
Yes.
Yeah,
It's just
or,
like having a routine on any level.
yeah, or you're gonna
Right.
find something to
Right.
fill that
Some
void
sort of vice.
with
Yeah.
something. You know, so
Well,
that's
I mean,
human nature.
I know plenty of people that smoke weed like they would cigarettes, and you wouldn't know it. You know,
Sure.
it's just a completely just functional part of their day where if you didn't smell it on them, which usually you don't, you wouldn't even know that they do.
Well,
at all.
you first time smoking a cigarette, remember that rush? Imagine
Right.
getting behind the wheel, and now you get quite a buzz, but by the second or third or fourth cigarette you have, you know what I mean? Like just like everything else, cannabis doesn't have, cannabis can be impairing by all means, but it also can be, it can also be regulating, it doesn't have to
Abusing
be impairing.
anything.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be
Yeah,
impairing,
you can
impairing
use
either,
anything, for sure.
so.
We'll grab a couple quick comments before we wrap up. Angelo says, no different than wine or beer used responsibly. That's absolutely true.
Yes.
As we drink very responsibly this fine beer from Beer Boys, which this one, this New Belgium Liquid Paradise, that's quite good too. Also
sweet.
kind of a very strange taste. I guess that's the theme here today. Between that and the
I love
Bullfrog
this
Karate
one.
Poker. Yeah, this try this one too when you're done with
well,
that.
I always have to pee when I come on here because I start drinking all this beer that I have to sneak away.
I know, right?
Sorry.
Max Henry says, love you guys. So glad to be part of the Pennsylvania Cannabis Fest crew. So you guys probably have a decent sized crew to have to put all this together.
It's not a small feat by no means,
I have a
To
question.
put something that many people come to.
Sorry.
Go ahead, jump in.
I wanted to ask this before. So, do you see that it growing so much that you have to have like a change of venue and like have a bigger space?
That's what we were
and,
kind of
like-
saying earlier before. Yeah, eventually we'll.
We'll debate it. I mean, we
like
I like Nay Aug. It's
Yeah.
76 acres.
Yeah,
I've never been there.
pretty
It's a
huge.
national.
It looks amazing.
It's a
I thought that's so
natural.
weird.
It's a natural
Natural
historic
landmark.
landmark. Because it has a massive gorge in it
gorge,
with roaring
the
brook going through it.
waterfalls.
Yeah, it's
there's
beautiful.
there's a lot of things to Nay Aug that are great. Traffic, CMC, things like this. Those are the
Parking.
issues,
Limited parking.
But there are 1,000 free parking spaces in Nay Aug. Where else do you get
Yeah,
that?
that's incredible. You can't beat
There's
Unless having
there's-
it at, like, on a
it takes a little bit of work,
Yeah.
but what event do you go anywhere in the state of,
Yeah,
or
like
anywhere that you
had
don't
to
have
pay for
to,
parking.
Yeah, you're right.
even fairs you have to park
And it's not the same.
a ways
at
away
all
to get
here.
there,
Sure.
So it's one of those things that there's always challenges when you we learned last year about restrooms. When they deliver restrooms with male and female door emblems, we learned a lot what that can bring.
Females use
Females run out of
men,
toilet paper by
males
noon. Men's are disgusting. So you can't switch them. You know what I mean? So we're like,
Right.
so this year we have that all figured out. We
Okay.
got more,
Yeah.
and we know what to do. All these little things you never really expect when you have 10,000 people come to
Yeah.
your event.
You learn
so.
them as you go.
Yep. So
a learning
every year it goes off without a hitch. No arrests, no problems, and it's a great thing. We all, and we all appreciate the city letting us come and do our thing and do it respectfully.
It's no worse than this St. Patty's Day parade.
Well, the St. Patty's Day
I mean,
parade
come
is
on.
Do people protest the event?
no.
Of the event?
If Bob
Ours?
Bullis wants to come up with his Trump truck, by all means, please. Bring it up. He's already kind of invited. So, but no, nobody really protests. It's a very peaceful day.
That's great.
And it's
Not
nice.
even a dog fight. So I mean,
No.
it's
Yeah,
good.
see, there you go.
And that's the thing. You can bring your pets, and it's open to the public, and we appreciate the public coming. And
Learning.
There's
Getting
250
educated
vendors.
about cannabis.
It's like a mini, cannabis culture mall. I mean, it has everything there.
Yeah.
Everything awesome. In 3 stages, 15 bands.
Yeah, that's
It's just it's a lot going on in one day. So.
There's some great bands there this time too, and you guys mix up it's not always the same people every time,
No.
for sure. I'll read a couple really quick. Root Shock, Suburban Sensei, Philadelphia Slick, Broctopus, the Holtzman Effect, who we're fans of. We just covered one of their shows recently. Good guys. Rogue Chimp, Young
Talented.
Lion.
They're always fun.
Talented.
Eric Harvey and Friends, D Maple Band, Canary Circus, Friends of the Family. So there's lots of good stuff to see. Lots of variety in that as well. What is the Hetty's Flameworks Village? I was curious. What is that?
We have live glass blowers that are doing a competition, so they could either enter a piece that was worth $100 or a piece that was worth $500, and you as the public will have the opportunity to judge that piece
Okay.
and
And bid on it.
That's
and
awesome.
bid. Yeah, we're gonna do an auction for those pieces. So
That's very cool.
And donations go to Lehigh Valley Normal in order to fight cannabis prohibition and naysayers like the gentleman you mentioned before.
Of which I'm sure there are no.
Oh, there's
shortage
plenty of them. Yes,
Well, I think too, and I'm sure you guys invite those people to come and check it out, but they probably won't, and that's the sad thing is that I feel like if you don't agree with something, you should at least approach it with an open mind.
Yes.
Come to the festival. Meet some of these people, talk with them, because that's a big thing too. Is Republicans and Democrats alike talk about meeting your constituents and talking to the people and that kind of stuff, but you never see them in
In
these
that
types.
voice.
pay a
of-
$10 charge
Yes.
to do so.
Absolutely in that voice. Yeah. Exactly. Like come to a free event where there's going to be lots of people. And just talk to them. You don't even have to say who you are.
No,
you
ask
know?
questions.
Just get to know the
Yeah.
people. that are- yeah.
Absolutely. You never see that. And these
It's sad.
I always I would notice this as a reporter when I was covering politics and stuff too. They would give this illusion that they care by setting up these like meetings during the day when everybody works, like 9 to 5
Right.
and a weekday. At 2 p.m. in this place, in this room, on this floor of this building, all the way over here, we're going to have a free open discussion about this or that. And it's like, yeah, that's great. No one is going to figure out where the hell that is, never mind actually show up and go there and have a discussion with you on this. And then be free from work, too. Like, they're going to take off of work for the day. Like, maybe you guys can do that, but we certainly can't afford to do that.
Right.
The average person can't afford to do that.
No.
So, I mean, here's a perfect opportunity, I think, for people to come and learn about it. So, whether you agree or disagree with this conversation, because you're welcome to disagree with us, too, but I think you should come to this type of thing and see what it's all about, because obviously you guys are welcome to that. As James Patrick says, local government political theater. That's exactly what it is.
Yep, that's what it feels like.
Anything else you guys wanted to mention and get in there before we wrap up tonight?
Yeah, hey, everybody's welcome to come to next Saturday. It's going to be a beautiful day. It's on 420 Nay Aug Park in Scranton. You can find all the information at our website, penncannafest.com. Gosh, it's going to be awesome. Music, good, 5th year. And I welcome you all to come.
Anything else, Brittany?
I'm
Since
just
you're
happy
here?
to be back for the evening.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
This
Maybe,
has been super fun.
maybe you'll join us again. in a
I would
future
like
episode
to.
when you can.
When we
you're
talk
there.
about me more, though.
Yeah,
Yeah, right.
Just kidding.
Oh, come on! How many shows have we had?
No, I
We've
just
had
go
at
on
least,
and on and
at
on
least
about
two,
myself.
two shows, maybe.
Yeah,
Oh,
no,
wow,
I'm so
dedicated.
happy to be here.
That's cool.
Yeah,
Good
it's fun.
good to see you again.
Yeah, you too. It was nice meeting you both.
Yeah, it's nice meeting you
And
too.
good luck with
Yeah.
everything.
Welcome back.
I hope you guys really get everybody in the know about what they need to know.
Stick it to them.
Stick it
Yeah.
to them. Yeah, I was gonna say something really like not appropriate.
We have a long ways to go here in
Yeah.
Pennsylvania, you know, so
Yeah.
there's a lot of work to be done still.
For
You know,
sure.
it's not there
Making
yet.
an old man out of him. Come on.
You know,
Look at him.
I'm not shaving until prohibition's over, you know, so it might be a while.
You're doing the work,
Yeah, for sure. It's a lot of work to do.
but you're doing it.
Somebody's got to.
Yeah.
This is just.
Well, we appreciate
There's people doing life in jail for cannabis. Period.
In Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, life.
In
Yeah.
Alan
Pennsylvania,
Wood.
too.
Alan
Yep.
Wood. He's spending life in prison.
Presidents have denied them clemency.
Free Farrell Scott. Free him.
You know, I mean that's
Too much cannabis. I mean, come on. It's just ridiculous.
just one person's wrong. You know, just one person is not. You know, if you kill one person or you put one person in jail when they're innocent of something that's not a criminal act, like sitting at the front of the bus, right? Who would put somebody sitting in front of the bus? That was a crime at one point.
Right.
They used to do all kinds of stuff to you when you sat at the front of the bus. You know what I mean? But you know that shit stopped. You know,
Right.
and nobody would stand up for that nowadays. Well, we're not standing up for it either. You know, and that's what it boils down to.
Well, we appreciate you guys. Cheers.
Thank you.
And so make sure you check it out Saturday. We will be here next Thursday. So we're on Thursdays for a little bit. I think eventually we'll end up back on Wednesdays in the future. But next Thursday we'll have a brand new episode of the NEPA Scene podcast for you. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed the show, please share it with your friends. Let people know we're completely independent. You know, we're other than these wonderful local businesses that sponsor us, you know, we're not getting big money from big corporations or anything like that to do this either. So if you like what we do, you want to hear more topics like this, please share it and let people know that you enjoyed tonight's show and spread the word about what we do as well as what these guys do as well, because they don't have it easy either. So thank you very much, and we will see you here next week. Have a good night, everybody.